Hello everyone, welcome to ITLS Academy. Our today's lecture is evaluation of non-antibiotic antimicrobial agents. So we are going to start with evaluation of non-antibiotic antimicrobial agents. We will start with introduction. First of all, we will going to see definition of few terms. These terms are: first is bactericide. Bactericide is an agency which kills bacteria. So we can say that something that kills bacteria is known as bactericide. Next is sporicide, an agency which kills spores. As we know, endospores of bacteria are so resistant, so they cannot be destroyed by any temperature, pH or etc. things. So the agency, the thing which kills these spores is known as sporicide. Sporicide, that is something that kills spores of bacteria. Next is bacteriostat, an agency which prevents the reproduction and multiplication of bacteria. Something that does not kills. Killing is inhibited here, but still that prevents the reproduction and multiplication of bacteria. As we know, reproduction in bacterial cell is through the division and cell division and multiplication. So this bacterostat prevents the reproduction process, or we can say it inhibits the process of cell division of bacteria. So it prevents the reproduction and multiplication of bacteria. Virucides, an agency which kills viruses. Something that inhibits or that kills the virus is known as virucides or viricide. Fungicide, an agency which kills fungi. The something that is responsible for killing of fungi. That thing will known as fungi. Fungistat, an agency which prevents fungal proliferation. Something like that bacterostat, as here bacterostat was preventing the reproduction and multiplication process of bacteria, but it was not killing the bacteria. Same like that fungistat, it prevents the proliferation of fungi while it does not affect the it does not affect or does not kill the fungi. Next is disinfectant. This term implies a substance with bactericidal action. So we can say that disinfectants work like bactericidal, and these are responsible for the death of bacteria. Clearly, if an environment is to be made free from the ability of reinfect, its bacterial production or bacterial population must be destroyed. Second is sanitizer. This term, sometimes used in the public health context, refers to an agent that reduces the number of bacterial contaminants to a safe level. Sanitizers are responsible for taking the number of bacterial contamination to a safe levels. Next one is antiseptics. This term means against sepsis, which in general means wound infection. Antiseptics are against infection, that is, if there is any wound, and antiseptics will prevent the infection in this particular wound. A bacteriostatic agent may prevent sepsis developing in the body, especially if the normal body defenses against sepsis are operative. This is another common uses of term disinfectant and antiseptics. To use the former for preparations to be applied to inert surfaces and later to preparation for application to living tissues. Many of the standard works include only the word disinfection in their title, yet deal with all classes of compounds. So we can say these all we have studied comes under disinfectants because many standard works include only word disinfection in their title. Still, they deal with all classes of compounds and with a wide range of applications. It is unrewinding to be too dogmatic about these terms. Many substances can function in both capacities depending upon their concentrations and their time of contact. Here we can discuss a more general term, that is biocide is now widely used to denote a chemical agent that literally kills microorganisms. So we have studied few terms and their definitions. Now it's time to study the dynamics of disinfection. So let's start. Change in the population of viable bacteria in an environment are determined by means of a viable count. In any population, the viable bacteria are counted by the population of bacteria is counted by the bacterias those are viable, that is those are liable. So bacteria in an environment are determined by means of a viable count, and a plot of this count against time gives a dynamic picture of any pattern of change. Most of the time, something like this type of curve is obtained in the dynamics of disinfection. If we take this is population and this is time, so this is the graph for the bacterial growth. The typical growth curve of bacterial culture is constructed from data obtained in this way. The pattern of bacterial death in a lethal environment may be obtained by the same techniques when a death or mortality curve is obtained. Inspection of the death curves obtained from viral count data had early elicited the idea that because there was usually an approximate and under some circumstances a quite excellent linear relationship between the logarithm of the number of survivors and time, then the disinfection process was comparable to a unimolar reaction. This implied that the rate of killing was a function of the amount of one of the participants in the reaction only. That is, in the case of disinfection process, the number of viable cells. This is the growth given in the case of bacterial population. As I showed, the curve of bacterial growth is something like this is observed, and this is known as sigmoidal curve. Here, for the three populations, this curve is given. You can see the first growth curve is sigmoidal and it is on upside. The second one is linear and the third one is in negative, that indicates the death of organism. This side, this shows the reproduction and multiplication of organism, and this indicates the increase in population, while the curve C showing the death of the organism, and it also shows the reduction of population. Here this side is it is the growth and next is death, and this is time. So, the fate of bacterial population when inoculated into nutrient medium A, nutrient medium, normal growth curve B, and bacteriostatic environment. Here, no change in viable population after a prolonged time interval, the viable population will probably begin to fall. The C bactericidal environment, a sigmoidal death curve is shown. So, we can say that the growth curve of bacteria is sigmoidal. So, the same is the death curve of bacteria is also sigmoidal. But the difference is the growth curve goes upside while the death curve goes negative side. So now we are going to study factors affecting the disinfection process. So let's start with some disinfection processes. Apart from the obvious effect of concentration, there are other important factors which affect the action of disinfectants. First of all, effect of temperature. In 1880, the bacteriologist Robert Koch had noted that anthrax spores were more rapidly killed by the same concentrations of phenol if the temperature was elevated. Robert Koch noticed that if there was temperature increased, any increase in temperature, then rate of the killing of anthrax spores was more rapid than the concentration of phenol. So we can say that if this is the concentration that is killed by the phenol, then this is the concentration that is killed by the temperature increment. So we can say that former pharmacopoeial sterilization process, heating with a bactericide used an elevated temperature, that is 80 to 100 degrees centigrade, maintained for 30 minutes to ensure that quite low concentrations of bactericides would sterilize parental injections and eye drops. The idea that disinfection could be treated as the first order chemical reaction led to ideas equating the effect of heat on the process to the effect of heat on chemical reactions. For reasons already given, attempts to fit equations derived from chemical reactions to the disinfection process are underwatering. Although, as a generalization, it is true that as the temperature is increased in arithmetic progression, the rate of disinfection or rate of kill increases geometrically. So, we have seen the effect of temperature. Now we are going to see the effect of dilution on the rate of bacterial growth or bacterial death. The effect of concentration or dilution. Concentration is making something more viscous, while the process of dilution is making something more liquid. Dilution of the active ingredient on the activity of a disinfectant are of paramount importance. Failure to be aware of these changes in activity is responsible for many misleading claims concerning the properties of a disinfectant. It was realized at the end of the 19th century that there was an experimental relationship between potency and concentration. We can say that if the log 0 of a death time, that is the time to kill a standard inoculum, is plotted against the log 10 of the concentration, a straight line is usually obtained. The growth will look like something like this. Now, effect of pH. During the disinfection process, a change of pH can at one and the same time affect the rate of growth of inoculum, the potency of the antibacterial agent itself, and the ability of the drug to combine with sites on the cell surface. Rate of growth of the inoculum. In general, bacterial growth is optimal at the pH range of 6 to 8. On either side of this bracket, the rate of growth declines. Now, the potency of the antibacterial agents. If the agent is an acid or a base, its degree of ionization will depend on the pH. If its acid dissociation constant, that is pK, is known, the degree of ionization at any pH may be calculated or determined by reference to public labels. It has been shown that in some compounds, the active species is the non ionized molecule while the ion is inactive. Thus, we can say that conditions of pH which favor the formation of ions of these compounds will also reduce their activity. In other cases, the activity of the drug is due to the ionized molecule. For example, with the antibacterial acridine diestoph is the cation which is the active agent and factors favoring ionization, all other things being equal enhance their antibacterial activity. So now we will discuss effect on the cell surface. Before an antibacterial agent can exert its effect on a cell, it must combine with that cell. This process often follows the pattern of an adsorption isotherm. Clearly, factors which affect the state of the cell surface as the pH of the cell's environment must affect to some extent the adsorption process. An increase in the external pH renders the cell surface more negatively charged. Biocidal agents that are cationic in nature thus binds more strongly to the cell surface with a consequent increase in activity. In most situations of practical disinfection, pH may not be a significant variable, but it has long been recognized that phenols are less active in alkaline solution, an effect readily explained by the Fourier account. Now, effect of surface activity. The possession of surface activity per se may be an important factor in the antibacterial action of a group of drugs. For example, the cationic detergents. The addition of low concentrations of surface active compounds may potentiate the biological effect of an antibacterial agent. Thus, phenols are often more active in the presence of soaps, that is, detergents. Presence of interfering substances. It has already been stated that in most instances, before an antibacterial agent can act on a cell, it must first combine with it. It is not difficult to envisage the fact that the presence of other material, often referred to as organic matter, may reduce the effect of such an agent by adsorbing or inactivating it, and thus reducing the amount available for combining with the cells it is desired to kill. Extraneous matter may be able to form a protective coat around the cell, thereby preventing the penetration of the active agent to its site of action. The possible influence, therefore, of other matter in the environment should not be overlooked. Now, come to the effect of inoculum size. This variable is often the one least controlled in the performance of tests upon disinfectants. Clearly, if it is postulated that disinfectants substances are first adsorbed on a cell and thereafter kill it, so the number of cells added to a given quantity of disinfectant may well be of significance. In all experiments, the inoculum size should be controlled and clearly stated in any account of the experiment. So guys, this was the last effect of inoculum size, was the last effect, and we have completed our this lecture. In our upcoming lecture, we will discuss some other points about the evaluation of non-antibiotic antimicrobial agent. This was a brief overview topic. So we have studied some terms, some definitions of some terms, and also we have studied the effects of various factors on the bacterial processes, on disinfection processes, and most of the interfering substances we have already studied. So we will continue our the topic evaluation of non antibiotic antimicrobial agent in our upcoming lectures. Thank you very much for watching this session. Guys, you can subscribe ITLS Academy on YouTube, and you can also get it on Google Play Store. So thank you very much again for watching this session.